Bonjour. Let's talk about show hide password functionality and also about password hints. We encounter these features more and more often, and that's great. They make using the web a lot easier for a lot of people, including disabled folks. These features are particularly important for folks with memory issues, people with cognitive impairments, and maybe folks who have tremors. Problem is, they're rarely built with accessibility in mind. In fact, I encountered similar features in most of the accessibility audits I conducted in the last year, and none were built accessibly. I'd been wanting to talk about show hide passwords and accessibility for a while. A message from Dr. Ellen Spertus finally prompted me to do it. Ellen said, "When you have an essential tremor, which makes it hard to type, especially on a phone screen, it's frustrating when you can't make visible the password you're typing, so you don't know if it's failing because you mistyped it or because they are expecting a different password." First, let's look at 3 sites that offer show hide password features that are not accessible: Target, Madewell, and realestate.com.au. The Target website is interesting because, as some of you know, Target was sued several years ago for accessibility. They actually settled a fairly expensive lawsuit, and part of the agreement was that they would work towards improving accessibility. And they're pretty good, but there's something here that is a bit of a problem. So if you can't see the screen, there is a login form, and in the create password, there is the word show. So let's navigate to that and see what happens.
First name, last name, mobile phone number, optional, create password, secure, edit text with autofill menu. To open the autofill menu.
So we're on the password field. In theory, the next tab stop should be the show button.
Show, button. You are currently on a button inside of web content. To click this button, press Control, Option, Space.
So I'm going to press Control, Option, Space and see what happens.
Press Show, button.
So I pressed it. Visually, the button content has changed to hide, but I don't get a lot of information about this.
Press Hide, button.
So I've pressed the button again, but I did not get very much information. So this experience is not really great for screen reader users using VoiceOver. Obviously, the experience may be somewhat different in NVDA or JAWS. I'm not going to test it here for the purpose, but I wanted to show some of the problems where you press a button and nothing really happens. Here we are on the madewell.com website, the registration page. There's a form, typical stuff: first name, last name, email, password. In the password field, there is a similar approach to what I've done. There's a eye icon that should, in theory, reveal the password. So let's quickly tab to that field and see what happens.
Last name, email, password, required, secure, edit text with autofill menu. Password, you are currently on it.
So we're on the password field. In theory, the next tab stop is going to be the eye to show or hide the password.
United States.
However, I skip straight to the country side. So I'm going to tab backwards and see if I can get to it.
Password, required invalid data, secure, edit text with autofill menu.
And I can't. They have coded this in a way that makes the eye icon not keyboard accessible. Now, as a sighted user, I can know it's there, so I could, I guess, explore ways to actually reach it. But if I was a non-sighted screen reader user, I wouldn't even know it's there to try and find it. So this is a problem. Here we are on a Australian real estate website called realestate.com.au. This is a create account page, and as usual, there's a create account form with an email address and a password. In the password input field, there is the word show, which is underlinked. There's also options for continuing with Google, Facebook, or Apple, but let's look at how the real estate site handles this. So I'm currently focused on the email address. I'm going to tab to the password field and see what happens.
Leaving toolbar. Entering realestate.com.au. Create account web content. Password. Password. Secure edit text with autofill menu.
So we have the password field. The next steps up should be the show link or button.
Create account button.
So again, just like the madewell.com, we went straight from the password input field to the next field, and we skipped the functionality of showing the password. So let's try and go backwards and see what happens.
Password. Password. Secure edit text. Email address. Edit text. Blank. Password. Password. Secure edit text with create account button. You are.
And the show password functionality is completely unavailable to keyboard-only users, sighted or not. Yet if I go and click it with the mouse, I have the word changes from show to hide, similar to the target experience, except that we can't actually trigger this with the keyboard. You can well imagine how these experiences could be frustrating. As a developer, it's in your power to build it so it's accessible. Let's look at my solution. Here's a short demonstration of my markup in action using NVDA. I did slow down the speech right down for clarity because not everyone is used to fast-speaking screen readers.
Edit protected required password. Show password graphic clickable toggle button not pressed. Edit protected required password, must be at least 8 characters. Must have at least one number. Must have at least one uppercase letter. Must have at least one special character, blank. Star. Show password graphic clickable toggle button not pressed. Password shown, pressed.
Let's look at my CodePen. I'll walk you through and explain what I've done. First, we're looking at the password hints. I've added the hints as an unordered list for sighted users, but I'm hiding that from screen reader users. We'll be providing the list for screen reader users differently. We need to provide a unique ID to the container that will have the password hint for screen reader users. This is needed to programmatically associate the hints and the input. Then we provide the hints in a visually hidden span, text for screen readers only. I do this because in testing with screen reader users, when I associated the unordered list itself, the experience became very verbose. Screen readers would announce the bullet each time. We add the input and use area described by to associate the input and the password hint. So now we have the password hints available for both sighted users and screen reader users. Let's look at the show hide password function now. We need a button to trigger that. We could use a checkbox, but I think a button is more accessible for a few reasons. Anyway, we add a role of switch to the button so screen reader users know it controls the state of an element, in this case the input. We use the area pressed attribute with a default value of false to indicate the actual state of the element. This will be changed via JavaScript when the button is activated. We add a type of button just to make sure that there's no confusion as to the button's purpose, as opposed to a submit or reset button. So we need content for the button. We could use text and change that text based on the input state, but I prefer to use an image. For sighted users, the default image is going to be an eye. But an image without alt text is not very useful for screen reader users, so we add alt text. The value here is show password. We keep the same alt text value regardless of the button's state. This is to limit confusion. We already indicate the state with area pressed. Finally, I add a visually hidden paragraph with a clear and concise message, password hidden or password shown. This isn't critical. Many would say that using area pressed and role switch is sufficient, but not everyone is comfortable with that information only. So I assign this a live region, so when the text changes, in this case the image, it is spoken by screen readers. I use a value of polite because who wants to be interrupted unless the sky's falling down, right? Anyway, have a play with the CodeBen, check it out. I should point out that there are many ways to accomplish this. You can use a checkbox or you can use text instead of an image. As usual, there are pros and cons to every approach, and you'll have to decide what works best for you. However, do make sure to remember that it needs to work well for keyboard-only users, sighted or not. Also keep in mind that the interaction needs to be making sense for screen reader users. Thank you for listening.